Show me a man who can nestle. Doesn't anyone want to play? I like big muscles. Ain't there anyone here for love?
Hey friend, welcome to my channel Karina Lude, where we deep dive and break down the most iconic stars in history. If you're not yet subscribed, please be sure to do so and turn your notifications on so you never miss an upload. Now let's get into this video. Today we are talking about the iconic Jane Russell, and I love me some Jane Russell.
So set 'em up, Joe. I got a little story you ought to know.
How does it happen that we're at the same table?
This is the seat they assigned me, lady.
How much did it cost you?
I can't tell you. You'd get too conceited.
She is probably one of the most relatable Hollywood stars because she just remained very humble, never let her fame get to her head. Jane Russell played seductive femme fatales on screen, but she could be a quiet saint off the camera. She was a saint. It's not an exaggeration to say that she was a diehard Republican and a devoted Christian. Russell held a Bible study at her house once a week that she dubbed the Hollywood Christian Group. She even tried to convert Marilyn Monroe at one point. And in her autobiography, she writes, "Imagine what a hellraiser I might be if I didn't have the Lord. I shudder to think." End quote. In addition to her acting and singing careers, Jane Russell also dabbled in the fashion and modeling industries, and in the 1940s and 1950s, she was a major symbol of sensuality in Hollywood. She had appeared in over 20 films. We are going to get into the scandal of how Hollywood uses scandal to promote their movies and how Jane Russell unfortunately had to be a part of that. We're going to get into all those juicy details and what she thought of Marilyn Monroe's death, who was a close friend of hers, etc. But before we get into all of that in her childhood, I want to start off with some beauty secrets with her because she was known as the curvaceous beauty of Hollywood, and she has some pretty good, solid beauty secrets. She told Lydia Lane, and Lydia Lane was like a journalist who interviewed all of these starlets on their beauty secrets, their diet, fashion, etc. So I love reading her articles from back then, and she had an interview with Jane Russell in 1956 where she talked about all her beauty secrets, which I really love. The secret to Jane Russell's sexy signature style was simple. She always matched her lipstick to her nail polish. I know, right? If she wore red lipstick, she would often wear red nail polish with it. If she wore pink, her nail polish would be pink.
Let's talk a little bit about fashion. What do you think of styles today, what our stars look like today?
Anybody that's going to wear blue jeans with streaks and scarred, dirty, they look like they've been thrown in the trash.
Well, you designed a lot of your clothes.
The 40s were really the best generation because everybody wanted to look as good as they possibly can. Everybody had their own hairdo, and there weren't two of them alike. And the clothes were all beautifully designed.
But you designed a lot of your own clothes.
Yeah.
Lots of you. And Mr. Blackwell designed most of your beautiful gowns. And I've seen photos of some of Mr. Blackwell's gowns, and they're really, really smashingly beautiful.
Well,
she told Lydia, and I quote, "Eyes are the whole face to me. I put on mascara as soon as I wake up. I have used the same brand of mascara for years. People are always telling me what long lashes I have. They really aren't that long. It is the way I apply my mascara. I like to use an almost dry brush and to apply several coats, but I always stroke the back of my lashes as well as the front. Then as a final coat, and to prevent chipping, I use a waterproof mascara." Lydia also wrote this about Jane upon meeting her and talking to her, and she said this: "Though Jane Russell is one of the top names in pictures, you rarely see her at any of the big Hollywood parties. In fact, Jane's closest friends are the girls she went to high school with, and none of them happen to be in the public eye. Here's a girl who has success, but she did not let it get to her head." And Lydia went on to ask her, "What is your favorite beauty secret?" And she responded, "I suppose I should say getting enough sleep. Because unless I get 9 hours sleep, I don't feel well. When I have an early call, I always leave any date so that I will be sure to get to bed in time to have my quota of sleep." Lydia also asked her, "Do you have to watch your weight closely?" And she answered, "Yes, I do. I have a scale at home and weigh myself every day. My weight always jumps up and down, and I try to catch it before it's more than 2.5 pounds. "What is your favorite way of reducing her weight?" Lydia asked her, and she said, "When I mean business, I go on a high high protein diet, almost kind of like a keto diet where it's mostly protein and just vegetables. And she continued, and I followed to the letter until I'm back to normal and exercise. And Lydia asked her, does she exercise more? Her response was, the amount isn't as important as being regular with your exercise. I play a game of tennis or go horseback riding every day, and then I take dancing lessons too. Dancing is a wonderful way to get your regular exercise, end quote. Jane is one Hollywood star who is never tense or hurried. And when Lydia asked her how does she stay so relaxed, she said, I never go around the bush when I go through it, she replied, and I never sit up when I can lie down. So she believed in taking an easy approach to life, which I really admire. Now, as far as her childhood, she had a pretty healthy and happy childhood. On June 21st, 1921, Jane Russell entered the world in Minnesota. She was the oldest of Geraldine and Roy Williams, and they had 5 children, and she was the only daughter out of her 4 brothers. And Jane Russell grew up in a Bible-loving household. Geraldine Russell, her mother, was also a famous Hollywood actress. She was known for her charisma and compassion, but she used to hold sermons at the family kitchen table until the kids built a chapel on a property in San Fernando Valley of California, because they ended up moving to California. And her mom was this neighborhood preacher, always had people at the house. Russell had a sense of deep admiration for the valley and her religious, energetic, and lovable family. Fields and orchards covered the scenery, and ranch-style homes were filled with horses and dogs, and described by Russell as just a happy place. It was a blue jean and t-shirt kind of country where everyone knew each other and celebrities weren't really a big deal, end quote. Jane speaks highly of the family she grew up with and the friends she kept throughout her life. She never dropped a friend. Perhaps it was this feeling of safety that allowed Jane to become something of an anomaly in the world of Hollywood, a star who genuinely cared about her fans. A consistent theme in Jane's writing is her genuine care for others, which reveals a lot about her personality. Her mother had Jane start taking piano lessons at a young age. She also took part in plays while attending Van Nuys High School, demonstrating an interest in the performing arts beyond her musical pursuits. She wanted to be a designer originally, a fashion designer when she was younger, but when her father ended up passing away when he was in his 40s, she changed her mind and became a receptionist instead to kind of like help out the family. She modeled for photographers and, per her mom's wishes, attended Max Reinhardt's theatrical workshop for acting training. Now, as far as her career, she was a plump 19-year-old secretary at a doctor's office when a notorious Hollywood director, Howard Hughes, walked in. Since Hughes was famous for his obsession with attractive young women, it's not surprising that Jane Russell was the first to catch his eye. Having been signed to a 7-year contract by Hollywood mogul Howard Hughes in 1940, Jane made her film debut in the Billy the Kid biopic, The Outlaw, which featured extensive body shaming when it came to her, but not in the way that you think. Although The Outlaw wasn't widely seen for almost 5 years after its initial release, Jane Russell became a star thanks to her performance as a seductive Rio.
Who's that?
This is Billy the Kid. You got a bad one on the left side. Now do your best for this boy.
How's Billy? Looks like he's having a chill.
How'd I get here?
Doc brought you.
Are you Doc's girl?
You get out of here and shut the door.
If you and I are bound to fight sooner or later, I'd rather do it now and have it over with.
The film was scheduled for release in 1941, but it was delayed because of complaints about Jane's excessive skin exposure, and she had big tatas during those days, and Hollywood was obsessed with that. There's no such thing as bad publicity, so it's no surprise that Hollywood enjoyed stirring up conflict to promote their films. Howard Hughes actually called for the film to be banned in order to draw attention to it and create a demand for it. He orchestrated a public uproar by anonymously contacting concerned citizens to notify them about the vulgar movie so that they could complain to the presses and call for it to be banned. He did all that behind the scenes. It was great marketing, and studios and music execs still do this today. They love being canceled because it means more dollars, more exposure, more press. Even though it's bad publicity, it's more press, and there are people that just is never going to care about the bad publicity, that you're making these people more popular. This is why I always tell people, when you don't like someone, just don't talk about them. There are some people that need to be canceled now. I get that. But sometimes they do this on purpose. Some celebrities just do that on purpose. When they're going on tours, then you'll see a whole bunch of controversy pop out about them all at once. And it's almost as if they sent the people out to do that controversy. They orchestrated it because whether good or bad, they know it's going to get people talking about them. So be careful when you look at the media. Always know this person's being talked about a lot lately. What is going on? It's a lot of bad press, a lot of bad publicity, and then boom, they have something coming up, right? Jane, though, was not too pleased about this, and she was not happy because she had to take the fall for it. And, you know, she came from a good background, and the way Howard Hughes used her in his films, he always just showcased her assets, if you get what I mean. And she basically had no choice, because we know by now those contracts were pretty tough and they were pretty binding. You didn't really have much freedom to say what you were going to wear, how you were going to do your hair. He even designed a bra specifically with barbed wire underneath it to push up her, you know, goods, her tatas. I got to be careful for YouTube, but to push them up further and protrude them. And the bra was so painful for Jane to wear that she ended up sneaking wearing her own bra. She was like, I'm not going to wear this bra that he designed specifically for that. I'm going to wear my own. But she ended up padding it so that it would still look like it was the bra that he created, so it could still look fuller and bigger and up. And then she made the strap tighter so she could hold it up. But the bra was so uncomfortable and would scar her that he made for her. And that just goes to show you how far he went, that he specifically designed that bra for her. It's just crazy stuff.
Well, how was Howard Hughes? Oh, he was a doll. He was a very, very shy, quiet, sweet, patient.
Millionaire.
Yeah.
Billionaire.
But when you were signed with him, were you worried that meant you have to become one of Howard's girls? Because most of the women signed on pillowcases,
No.
most of the deals.
No.
For what reason did Howard Hughes design a bra for you? Because he designed the first seamless bra, wasn't that it?
Yeah, he was trying to get a seamless bra, and because everything, the blouses I had on in the picture were jersey, and you could see all the seams, and he didn't want that.
Everybody made such a big deal about your boobs. The church condemned it. Nobody could go see it. It was going to make perverts out of men. Boys were going to go blind because of what they did when they saw your film.
In the outline, there was a cleavage scene.
Yeah, that much cleavage.
How'd I get here?
Doc brought you.
Doc? Are you Doc's girl? What do you know about that?
Be careful, your wound, you'll hurt yourself.
That's right, I remember now. I caught one yesterday, didn't I?
I was trying to pull a blanket up over Billy the Kid because he was freezing cold. And the camera happened to be right there. So the cameraman said, nope, we can't do that. And he moved back over here. Howard Hughes wanted that one, and he wouldn't.
The cleavage shot.
He wouldn't stop.
Billy, you mustn't, you'll hurt yourself.
Then why don't you quit wrestling with me?
But you've been so sick, you're not well enough. I had to give you something for your money, didn't I?
Oh, I see.
Then how did you get back?
It was pretty tough. But the more I thought about seeing you, darling, the easier it got.
What are you waiting for? Go ahead.
Say, that sounds real nice. I'd like to hear you ask for it. Keep it up. Beg some more.
What would you like me to say?
Well, you might say please very sweetly.
Please.
Will you keep your eyes open?
Yes.
Will you look right at me while I do it? I thought I tied it tighter than that.
You came back.
I think more so than that shot was when you were riding on the horse. We saw Jane Russell bouncing.
No, and today they're showing cleavage in the back.
If it were in 1940, the surgery that they have today to put in breast implants, and had Howard asked you, Jane, I want you to be a 48 double D, will you put in breast implants? Would
No.
You? Okay, why not?
Just leave me alone.
Beginning in 1947, Russell worked to establish herself as a musician. She made 2 singles with Kay Kaiser's orchestra, and she sang with them on the radio. Acting alongside Marilyn Monroe, Russell played Dorothy Shaw in 20th Century Fox hit film Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. With a gross of over $5 million, it was Russell's most successful film since The Outlaw.
That's just who I am, all right. But my friends call me Lorelei. I do hope you're my friend because I just love to have handsome gentlemen be my friend.
A kiss on the hand may be quite continental. Men grow cold as girls grow old. Days are a girl's best friend. Honey, you'll hurt yourself. Can't play tennis, my golf's a menace. I just can't do the Australian crawl. I'm apathetic and non-athletic. Can't keep up in a marathon. Wrestle, I've never trained in a gym. We're just two little girls from Little Rock.
Pardon me, my girlfriend's too shy to ask, but could she please have your seat?
But of course.
She gets sick if she rides backwards. I'm sorry.
Not at all.
How does it happen that we're at the same table?
This is the seat they assigned me, lady.
How much did it cost you?
I can't tell you. You'd get too conceited.
Well, pardon my saying so and all, but having heard so much about you, I expected you to be much older.
I'm old enough to appreciate a good-looking girl when I see one.
At the height of her career, Russell started the Hollywood Christian Group, a weekly Bible study at her home, which was attended by many of the leading names in the film industry. Marilyn Monroe once said, "Jane tried to convert me to religion, and I tried to introduce her to Freud." End quote. Russell had tried to take her to a Bible study for Hollywood stars. In an interview, Russell later said, "I certainly was not trying to convert her to religion because I don't like religion," denoting that she didn't consider Christianity a religion, but more of a way of life, right? Jane and Marilyn were really close friends, and she often defended her in the media and would comfort her on the set of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. When she would have her episodes, she would hide out in her dressing room, would want to come out. Marilyn was, starting to spiral around that era. So Jane would often go in there, kind of comfort her, get her out, talk to her. She was really protective of her. Marilyn would often go to Jane's house and hang out with her and her children. So Jane had this to say about Marilyn. She said, "The difference between me and Marilyn is that Marilyn had so many problems in her life because she thought being a sex symbol and a big star would solve everything. It just gave her a whole new set of problems instead. In my case, I came from a very Christian background. When I was 18, I was turned into this sensual symbol by a very strange man named Howard Hughes. I never believed in it at any time, but Marilyn believed in everything. The business then turned around and killed her." End quote.
How is working with Marilyn Monroe? We have a clip, which I'd love to show you, when you both put your hands in the cemented Grauman's Chinese Theater.
Oh, and Jane Russell are welcomed by George Bowser, manager of the Fox West Coast Theaters, as they arrive to make their imprints in the famous concrete of Grauman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood. Marilyn and Jane won their chance to join Filmdom's immortals by their work in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. Hollywood's photogs delight in the contrasting duo who, despite their clashing roles in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, offstage are as friendly as sorority sisters.
She had just a tremendous amount of sympathy and empathy and feeling for people, situations, and she was always a little unhappy and mad at the big boys, She was certainly not your dumb blonde at all. She was a very bright, sensitive girl.
Did you think she died when you heard she died?
I had no idea.
But then she did continue to have this heartwarming moment where she said, "When Marilyn was spending time with my children, she seemed very happy. But then she told me, I think I'm in love with the most powerful man in the world." And Jane Russell said, "She wouldn't tell me the name, but I now believe it was President Kennedy and something was done to shut her up or something. She never believed Marilyn would have taken her own self out. Russell would never forget her friendship with Monroe and their time working together in the iconic film. She was also very distraught when she found out she passed away. It was a very depressing time for her." She also went on to say, "First, I was surprised that she spoke naturally and not in that silly baby talk she used in movies." Russell recalled about Marilyn Monroe, "I just adored her from the start. So sweet, silly, and drop-dead gorgeous without any makeup and with her hair uncombed. She had this God-given gift of making people laugh and feel better. Why temper with that?" end quote. I did a breakdown for Marilyn, the real Marilyn, the poet Marilyn. If you haven't seen that, check that out also. Russell appeared occasionally on the Praise the Lord program on the Trinity Broadcasting Network, a Christian television channel based on Costa Mesa, California. After one of Judy Garland's attempt to end her life in 1940, Jane Russell says she received a message from the Lord that she was determined to relay to Judy Garland. I did a breakdown for Judy Garland also. She was a very troubled soul, but she was just a lovely woman outside of all the tragedy that she had to endure. She finally got Judy Garland on the phone and prayed with her. She said Judy gave a little gasp, mumbled thank you, and hung up. Years later, Garland called Russell about a friend who was in trouble. She asked for help and if we could pray, Russell writes. So I guess Judy didn't think we were altogether nuts, end quote. All her friends knew if they needed a prayer person, it was Jane. How could you not love her, okay? No matter what you believe in, how could you not love her? She was comforting a lot of people in the industry. It was just lovely to see. On the musical front, Russell formed a gospel quartet in 1954 with 3 other members of a faith-sharing group called the Hollywood Christian Group. The other original members were Connie Haynes, Beryl Davis, and Della Russell. Later, another Hollywood bombshell, Wanda Fleming, joined them for more gospel recordings. She first performed as a solo act in a Las Vegas nightclub, the Sands Hotels Club 777, in October 1957. Later, she traveled to the U.S., Canada, Mexico, South America, and Europe for her performances. Russell moved into television, appearing in an episode of Colgate Theater, Death Valley Days, and The Red Skeleton Hour. And in 1999, she remarked, "Why did I quit movies? Because I was getting too old. You couldn't go on acting in those years if you were an actress over 30, end quote.
I stopped making pictures was when the studios were changing totally. The agents were running the whole thing. You didn't have that father figure at the studio, and that was your home away from home and everything.
As far as her personal life, Russell's first marriage, which began in 1943 and ended in divorce in July 1968, was to Bob Waterfield, who was also her high school sweetheart. He played college football at UCLA, was an All-American, and went on to start as a quarterback for the Cleveland Rams, quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams, and head coach for the Los Angeles Rams. So he was a football superstar. Russell got pregnant at age 18 with Waterfield's child, having to make a tough decision at such an early stage of life. She opted to have the pregnancy terminated. Russell had to go see her regular doctor after developing serious complications during the procedure. The young woman was rendered sterile as a result of the botched procedure. All of this had a lasting impact on Russell, and she eventually became an outspoken opponent against, terminating your pregnancy.
Okay, can we get one bit of scandal about you? Because in the book, so we're not telling it out of turn. You were pregnant with John Payne's child.
No, it was not.
Oh, explain.
I don't think we'll discuss that on this show.
I'll find it. Did you get it for me? According to the book, which is sitting right here, I can talk over a guest. Yeah, we'll find it in the book. But you told a lot in the book, which I was surprised because you're a very private person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, but there's one thing about a person sitting in a chair reading a book.
Totally.
A private thing.
Oh, I agree totally. What else would you tell that you didn't tell in the book?
No, I told it all in the book.
All right. How does it feel to be a legend and a sex symbol?
Boring.
Did men come on to you a lot?
No.
Really?
No, I'm much too big and tough.
Also, you had 4 brothers.
Right.
Yeah.
I was raised with boys. I like boys.
Yeah, so do I.
But you became pregnant. And how did you handle that?
Mother used to say, the Lord has a path he wants you to go on. Mm-hmm. But if you fall off the path, he will rub your nose in it. Mm-hmm. I got off the path, and my nose rubbed in it.
Right.
And I damn near died with
From
that.
the abortion?
Yeah. So I was in a hospital for quite a while.
Those backroom abortions didn't work back then?
Just terrible.
In February 1952, Russell and Waterfield adopted a baby girl, and in December 1952, they adopted a 15-month-old boy, Thomas, whose birth mother, Hannah McDermott, had moved to London to escape poverty in Northern Ireland. And in 1956, they adopted a 9-month-old boy, Robert John, and in 1955, she founded WAIF, an organization to place children with adopted families, and which pioneered adoptions for foreign countries by Americans. She eventually ended up divorcing her high school sweetheart, and Russell quickly married actor Roger Barrett just 2 months after her divorce. It was a perfect storm that exposed her previous marriage. It was later discovered that both partners had admitted to cheating on one another, and at the end of the day, Waterfield's affair with his secretary was what compelled Russell to file for divorce. But just 3 months later, Roger Barrett, her second husband, passed away from a heart attack. She She ended up marrying estate agent John Calvin Peoples on January 31st, 1974, and the couple shared their home until his untimely death from heart failure on April 9th, 1999. Russell came clean about a shocking secret not long after her third husband passed away. At age 79, she recognized her need for help and checked herself into a rehab center for alcoholics. Russell admitted that she started drinking heavy after the death of her husband and that she only got sober after her family confronted her about it.
You battled alcoholism.
I should never have been drinking, but I didn't know that.
That your son found you lying on the bathroom floor. You had been there for 3 days. They took you to...
3 days?
Well, that's what the story goes. Now, listen, I'm reading these magazines, the yellow crap of today,
these crazy things.
The son moved you immediately to Santa Maria, and when you came 2 months later, your church group was around you praying for you.
It was my own family.
And the doctor told you...
That's the first time I found out that I am alcoholic.
But toxic also. If you have another drink, you'll die.
Well, people that are not alcoholic are not allergic to booze.
So you're on the wagon how many years now? You haven't had a drop?
Yeah, since 2000.
So good for you, Jane.
But I don't know how many people were only 79 when they got off of booze.
Not too many.
Her eyesight began to fail in 2006. Then in February of 2011, Jane's extraordinary life was cut short by a respiratory illness. The movie star was only 89 years old when she passed away.
We learned late tonight the actress Jane Russell has died. She started her Hollywood career as a bombshell in Howard Hughes' movie The Outlaw, which shocked 1941 audiences so much it was pulled from some theaters. A later generation knew her as a bra pitch woman on TV.
Her funeral was held in March 12, 2011. She just lived an iconic life. I love her story. Pretty drama-free throughout, right? You can say that. Comment below, what did you learn from this video? Who else would you guys like to see? If you like the music you're listening to, the link is in the description for my brother. And also comment below, what did you think about what she had to say about Marilyn? If you like this video, then also check out my Marilyn Monroe video or my Judy Garland video. Women that I really loved that just had a bad hand dealt to them in this life. I love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in once again. Until next time.